Welcome back, and here it is, the F-16C Viper. It's at 12.3 as expected. It does decompress the battle rating a little bit, and it does have some fancy new things over the F-16A, but the F-16A as well as F-16C flight models got changed a bit, so I do want to go in depth a little bit later on that, but for now I want to mainly look at what's new on the F-16C. The main thing will be the AIM-9Ms. They're basically AIM-9Ls, however they have a new seeker with IR-CCM, and the IR-CCM is quite strong. It's not super game breaking, but from some angles, if you are too late to react, it'll slam you right through the flares without any effort. Maneuverability, range and all that stuff is kind of similar to the AIM-9Ls. However, they are aided by the helmet mounted display. As you can see right here, it doesn't work on radar missiles, it's only for the IR slaving. And it's not that fantastic because you don't have the off-board capabilities of something like the R73. It doesn't have thrust vectoring. It doesn't have crazy pull when it comes off the rail. It's less effective than something like an R60M with the helmet mounted display at close range. But of course this will still be a better missile overall. And of course we can't forget the elephant in the room. It's smokeless. Yes, but it still gets a danger diamond in Era B. So in Era B this doesn't make a massive difference. Of course once it burns out it's much more stealthy, but this is mainly going to play a factor when it comes to simulator. Then we have the radar set. It is a little bit better. You are now able to switch locks by pressing a button. So now if someone is notching you and they don't actually chaff properly, they don't dodge properly, you can still maintain the lock that way. Also has TWS, which doesn't really do that much for this plane, but it's handy to have. The engine has more power by about 3,000 kilogram force, I believe, which is pretty massive, but it's also a good bit heavier, almost 700 kilograms. So it is going to be a lot less maneuverable, but on top of that you do get a better kit as well as double the flares. And of course you also get some extra freebies when it comes to creating your loadout, because now the outer pylons are of course still AIM-9s, and then you get some new options here. You also get another pylon in the middle, so you are just going to be much better at CAS here. And you also get the targeting pod, the lightning too, which is pretty good. But we are of course not really going to be looking at that today. We are mainly going to be looking at the air loadouts. I have a loadout with only AIM-9Ms. I have a loadout with AIM-9Ms and AIM-7Ms, just in case I need to take back off and I don't want to carry the fuel pod. And then of course I have the two loadouts here. Probably never going to use them, but I'd rather have them in case I do need them. And before I forget, this thing gets a pretty good amount of camos and they all look pretty decent. We have the stock one here, the one that you already had in the dev server as well. Then we have the Gambler's camo, which I think looks pretty decent, but the grey looks kind of weird. But the red details are something I'm a big fan of. And if you're wondering why, then you might have an idea why that is. This one gave me the most nostalgia bait. This is the Bushmaster one. We have the Iraqi Air Force here, which is also pretty damn good. And then the last one, which you will see a lot of, the Viper demo team. But without further ado, let's get right into the gameplay. The thing with the F-16C is it's actually kind of heavy, and I am running it on a lot of fuel now because I want to get carry games, I want to get long games, so I do spec into the late game of Era B. So at the start here, when you do run these heavy fuel loads, the F-16C is pretty heavy. It's not the best when it comes to maneuvering. It's still a good dogfighter, do not get me wrong. However, the F-16C is quite heavy when you compare it to something like the F-16AJ in the Japanese tech tree. And sure, it doesn't have AIM-9Ms. Sure, it doesn't have TWS. Sure, it has less thrust, but overall it's a lot lighter and the package just feels much more complete for a game mode like in Era B. If you are a gamer that just likes to go full speed through the map, never bother turning, just kind of fly it like the game is intended to be played, because let's be honest, your maneuverability doesn't really come into play most of the matches, then this is going to be better. You have more countermeasures, the AIM-9Ms are simply better, the radar is simply better, so it is a better kit. But if you are someone that likes to actually dogfight people, if you are someone that likes to get a little bit in the thick of it and kind of just furball with 20 people at once, then you are probably gonna have more fun with the AJ. But for the average gameplay, for the average Era B match, I do think that the F-16C, I think it's more of a side grade than a downgrade or an upgrade. They are very similar in capabilities, but I do know that if I run into an F-16C, I am gonna be happier than when I have an F-16AJ on my ass. Of course, keep in mind, I am talking about Era B. When it comes to Grounder B, this thing just has a much better kit. More countermeasures, better radar, better weaponry, more weaponry. So all in all, if you want to play it in Grounder B, you're probably off better in this thing. But you know, my channel, we don't do that stuff. We are gonna air superiority everything here, even if it's a BV238. Now, let's look at some actual gameplay, the thought process behind stuff, and just how we're gonna fly this thing in our average match. Now, the AIM-7Ms at the moment, I don't feel are that fantastic. Why is that, you might ask? Because everyone is hugging the deck. So when I do see one in orbit, I'm gonna shoot it right at him. I'm gonna keep the lock maintained. I'm gonna shoot him out of the air, and I'm instantly dropping back down to the deck, because I am complaining about everyone sitting on the deck, but I am sure as hell going to continue doing it myself. It's the best way to defend yourself from radar missiles. You do want to be vigilant. You do want to make sure that no one dies on you from orbit in the middle of the map, in the middle of the furball, which is why I like to pick off these stragglers at the start. Find people at medium to high altitude, and those are mostly the guys that will come in and ruin your day towards the middle of the match. If you get counter lines, of course, it's a little bit unlucky because you are now going straight up, and you have to make a choice. Do you continue to shoot the missile and maybe trade? Do you continue to shoot the missile, try to notch the guy on your right, maybe break lock, and now you're stuck in a 2v1? I can't give you a tip for that, it depends too much on the scenario. We turn our radar off, and now we are the person that we just counter killed, except we are still on the deck, but we are coming in from the off angle, we're coming in from their side of the map, and there's a very big chance that they are not gonna be looking here. So I start prepping my AIM-9Ms, and I see two guys going side aspect, they're probably shooting at someone else, so I'm gonna launch two of them. The MiG-29 is flaring a little bit, I wait till I get a bit closer, shoot both missiles off, and I thought that the nets was being tracked, and the MiG-29 was not, so I continue to go for the MiG-29. The MiG-29 gets slammed through the flares, and the nets actually ends up dodging it. And this is also the hindrance of the smokeless motor when you are trying to plan on it. Because if I had seen that that missile continued on to go for the MiG-29, I would have went for the nets. Luckily, he turned in a way that I can still shoot at the nets, just far enough away to prepare the AIM-7M. He's high enough to not be able to dodge it, and we slam him out of the air. F-14 coming in from the left, we go low, we dodge his radar missile, he turns around and he instantly gets digged down by my team, and that's the end of the game. And then we are on El Alamein, and on El Alamein you can't really flank because the map is completely flat, there is really no cover here, no real way to hide yourself from radar, so instead I'm gonna spearhead the team a little bit more, stay on the front line and try to keep my team alive. First guy merges with us, and he flies into the hungry pack that all want RP to get the F-16C, and he's about to get his dick torn off by 8 people at once. Now, where do I go? That group is too far away and it's too secluded, and if I go there I'm completely on my own. I notice one MiG-29 on our right. I'm gonna intercept him before he gets to my team, and then I notice that missile coming in from the heaven. I'm not worried about the MiG-29 anymore that everyone is looking at. I need to go for the guy that is gonna come in from behind, the guy that I kept warning you about. So we start locking him up, we prime the AIM-7M, and we shoot him out of the air. He is now too fast, he's too high, and he can't really notch anymore, he's too close. And he just instantly gets slammed out of the air. I have him locked, I notice the missiles in the air. No use shooting that, so I am just gonna continue on. We help the team a little bit. Now I'm going to desynchronize myself from the team again and come in from another angle again. The thing with top tier is if everyone is bunched up, it just turns into a head-on fest, and low altitude head-on fest with flares means no one is getting kills unless you shoot them down with your gun, which doesn't happen all that often anymore. So again, I desynchronize with my team, but I still try to stay near him, so when the enemy goes for me, that gives my team the asses of the enemy. And when the enemy turns for my team, it gives them the ass to me. So either way, someone in my team is about to start sniffing some ass. In this case, however, no one gets to do that, because there are some MiG-29s coming in from the side here, which means that I have to go for them. I cannot turn in front of them. We gun one down in the head-on, and we now start turning around, because we are again behind the entire enemy team. And you can notice that I am constantly just sitting somewhere else other than my team, but I'm still near my team to help them out. Now we get pressured by a MiG-29. I'm gonna break off for a second, flare it. He breaks off as well, he goes back to my team, and he did push me away a little bit, and he is gonna make it so that I'm gonna spend the next 30 seconds not being able to do anything. And that is the risk of playing this way, because the second you get pushed away, the second you get secluded, you can't help your team. And here we are, F-16, he's at ample altitude, he starts notching us, I press the button, we go to regular track. Notice how the missile keeps going, but he dives a little bit, ground clutter gets in the way, and the missile misses. We shoot an AIM-9M in the head-on, just for good luck basically. It doesn't do anything, and we are just going to ignore him and fly straight back to my team. Now we do the same thing that MiG-29 did to us, and we push him away. It's gonna allow our team to have some breathing room from him, and I'm gonna come in desynchronized yet again to shoot down the MiG-29 that's dogfighting my friendly. My friendly, however, is not fast enough. He is too high, and he tries to push the head-on with the other F-16, and he instantly gets clapped out of the air. Unlucky. He was stuck in a dogfight. And now I have an F-16 on my ass. It's an A, and I don't really want to dogfight it. I have a Yak 141 as well as a Mirage in front of us. Still, what do I do now? The Yak 141 looks to be RTB. I'm not completely sure, but he keeps going. He's not showing any intention of turning around, which is good for us, because that means we only have one guy on our 6. I'm going to wait a little bit longer to see if he's actually leaving. And he is, and the Mirage 2000 is still chasing our F-16, so this is my window. I need to kill this F-16 right now. I do not want to deal with that guy at the same time as something like a Mirage. So we air brake, we throttle down, we get to our optimal speed of like 750 to 800 kilometers an hour, and we merge. Now this guy needs to run basically. If he takes a dogfight, I will kill him, as long as it doesn't go super prolonged, but I will get position instantly because I'm a lot slower. And because the F-16, especially on very low fuel amounts, it just gets to sit on its engine. The AJ does win this dogfight. But when you merge too fast, I get the ability to just turn inside of your loop instantly. And it's a good thing he didn't air brake either, because otherwise this Mirage 2000 would have absolutely clapped me. So I dive to the deck in case he still has radar missiles left. We pre-flare in case of Magic 2s. He goes RTB. We reload, we rearm, we take off with a little bit less fuel this time because it's a 2v2. And I don't want to be too heavy. This time I don't need that much fuel. It's only 2 guys. If one of them dies quickly, I don't need much fuel. If my teammate dies quickly, I need little fuel because I cannot burn them off all their fuel before I get to kill them. So we look up the Yak 141. We see a MiG-29 on the RWR, which means that it's the Yak 141 because they don't have MiG-29s left. And we mark him for our teammate, but our teammate already saw him, so it's really not that big of a deal. We start getting a little bit of altitude because I want to bait this Yak into pitching up for us, to leave the ground here to counter launch, so that he is at ample altitude to slam him with a radar missile. So I'm gonna stay at like 800-ish meters, wait for him to launch, in the hope that my missile does connect, but my missile is going to hit a hill. An absolute mountain actually, and we now go head on with him. So we shoot the missile, we shoot the gun. I'm not really ammo conservative right now. It's 2v1, I want to keep it that way. I want to kill this guy as quickly as possible, just so we can 2v1 the Mirage 2000 a little bit later. So again, I am not turning in the same direction. I split up with the F-16 from takeoff a little bit to put some separation in. This guy needs to choose one guy to go for. He makes the critical mistake of getting a little bit of altitude in top tier Araby, and he instantly gets slammed out of the air. Now it's 2v1, Mirage 2000, I don't have radar missiles left, not sure how many my teammates has, but it's 2v1 and he's in the Mirage, which means that he is kind of boned. If we stay at low altitude and we don't let this turn into a 1v1 dogfight, he is not gonna be doing much. The Mirage 2000 in a 2v1 isn't that fantastic because it will bleed its speed very quickly because it's a delta wing. We are F-16s, both of us are in F-16s, and we are just gonna look for him. Mirage 2000 is already on the RWR. I tell my teammate to split up a little bit because we are only 2 kilometers apart. I'm again going to get a little bit of extra altitude just to scan the area a little bit better to make sure that I know exactly where he is. We lock him up. He already knows where we are, so it's not really a big deal to be stealthy here. It is going to be a head-on. We are kind of spread apart, and I'm just going to stay on this guy's right side or his left side, just so that when he goes for our F-16, I instantly get on his 6. And exactly as planned, we get instantly on him. We shoot the AIM-9M. He probably thinks it's too far or something. He maybe doesn't see it exactly. I don't know. He flares way too late. He eats the missile. And just like that, the game is over. Huge shout out to that teammate over there. It's unfortunate that you don't get anything for helping me out. You don't get any points for being near me. You don't get any points for setting up a kill. It's just the reality. But I am putting up both my thumbs here. Thank you for the support. Same thing as earlier. We go at a little bit of higher altitude. Shoot the missile off at a straggler. And he goes defensive instantly, which means that I have to be careful. because he can still lock us, because those are probably Phoenixes. So I instantly go defensive. I use the terrain, I use cover to make sure that I do not get slammed by a 500 kilogram bomb. They tend to still damage you by hitting the ground, which is really annoying. But it didn't this time, so yippee, and we can go continue on our merry way. Who do we want to go for? This was one of the earlier games, and I'm just kind of getting familiar with the plane. It does feel an awful lot like the F-16 did, the F-16A that is, before the flight model changes. Which means that, I mean, it's still very capable. We go merge again, everyone is sitting on the deck. I think to myself, fuck it, we're just gonna shoot an AIM-9M at this F-14. And I don't know how that hits. He probably just didn't flare. Maybe he didn't see it. Maybe he thought the diamond was not flying at him because he, or it was further away because he didn't see any smoke. I don't know exactly what happened. I just know it worked. And then there is an absolute clusterfuck developing in front of me, and I just don't know who to go for. I got an absolute brain overload. I just flew straight. I saw the MiG-29 and I hope that I can get a side aspect in here. Keep a look on the guy on our right, because he looks like he wants to turn back into us. He does not. He turns the other way. We get a missile out. And for some reason, the missile went for his missile. So it doesn't track at all. AIM-9M flare rejection, by the way. And now we are kind of boned, because the guy that should have been dead right there, but he's flared by luckily shooting a missile, is directly on our 6. The F-16 comes in way too fast. We need to make sure that he overshoots. We also need to make sure that the F-14 overshoots, but we are way too slow now. So we go defensive. I try to make the shot as hard as possible. I put it into the vertical. I try to get behind the F-14, but it's looking kind of sussy. I'm going to turn into the F-16 to make sure that he cannot pressure us. Trying to get the shot here, but he turns out of the way. We actually get damaged by the splash of the cannon of our teammate, because we didn't actually get hit, but we did get very, very slightly damaged. Luckily, it didn't actually blow us up. So now we go defensive again. MiG-29 coming in from behind. F-14 is in front of us. F-16 is in front of us. But the F-14 looks to be going for one of my teammates. So I'm going to try to catch him off guard right here. We shoot a missile at him. Keep eyes on the guy on our right, of course. And the missile, I think, just doesn't reach him. So we are going to press him away for a little bit. When I notice he's just too fast. The guy behind us is not merging just yet. The second I notice the MiG-29 doing something, I'm gonna turn for the MiG-29 and chase him back to the middle of the map. F-14 doesn't seem to be turning after us instantly. I didn't get a good look at his loadout, so I'm not sure how well equipped he still is. But we are gonna go back towards the middle of the map. The F-14, we're gonna keep an eye on him, because we do not want him to just run back into our ass and start spraying us down. And there he is turning around. So we now need to make sure he doesn't sneak up on us. Now that sounds stupid, I know, it's like sneaking up on someone with a semi-truck. But trust me, if you look away for like half a minute, he is gonna be right there. We lock up the F-16. I don't want to AIM-9M him, because he is probably gonna flare it. And this is a secure kill, he cannot notch that anymore. And I don't want to shoot the missile at the MiG-29, because it was a little bit further away. It was probably gonna drop on our F-16 over there. And then the missile would have been wasted. Now I get to kill both. The second guy just gave me a 6. We get an AIM-9M off. Blows him up. Now there's 2 guys back on our 6. F-14B that we encountered earlier, as well as the F-16, which we don't know which variant just yet. So we are going to dive in. We dodge him. And we are going to continue straight. Waste the missile of the F-14 by going very low. And just kind of dodge his guns. Make sure to keep him pressured. He is also pressured by another of my teammates. So I'm going to, again, desynchronize a little bit. Get a little bit of distance in. And make sure that if they start dogfighting, I can instantly come in and third party. Keep in mind, I only have guns left here. So I need to make sure that I get a good solution. So I can actually just park myself directly on one of their 6s. Disrupt their dogfight. And make sure we win that way. F-16 goes defensive against us. It's an F-16C. And this means that I can dogfight him. So I'm going to air brake a little bit. Try to get on the 6 instantly. And I'm not really worried about losing the raid fight. I'm not really worried about going too slow, because I have another teammate around. The F-14 is being pushed away. And I have position, which is the most important part when it comes to these duels or these dogfights or whatever you want to call them. And we are now just going to chase them back to the F-14. The F-16 is going to ignore me. He notices that he has more speed than us. And he's just going to run away. He's going to try to help his teammate in the same way that I am doing. But the F-14 doesn't really have a chance against an F-16A and something like a dogfight. He gets gunned down. And now it's 3v1. The one of them is running back to the airfield. One of us is running back to the airfield. and the F-16 is on the 6 of our F-16. However, again, I'm just far enough away to the point where if they start dogfighting, I will just come in to poop on their party. My teammate is also in an F-16A, which means that he's probably going to win the dogfight anyway. But I just get directly on him instantly, we air brake a little bit, we slow down, we go to our optimal speed range, and we gun him out of the air. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you all for watching, and you will see me out tomorrow with probably the MiG-29 SMT.